This is the first time in a long time we had a live bike ride Astro chat. So I thought I'd get back into it here for a little bit with you guys and all of us, were obviously channeling as well. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well. We've had a lot of movement here with the astrology. And in advance, I'm not looking at the screen. So just as a side note, but yeah, thank you guys in advance for those of you who super chat. If you do and I don't quite catch it, thank you guys so much for your support and your donations there. But yeah, I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about what we are looking at here in terms of the astrology for this week. We did actually do a bonus. We did a bonus, astrology reading as well, actually. It was for the weekend for the 1st of December to the 7th. And so that's as a side note, but I still did want to just sort of talk about some of the nuances here. And the first, obviously, being that we have the moon so close to Mars right now, and it's in the sign of Scorpio. So if you've been feeling of this intensity, okay, that could be why. And hopefully you can hear me because I'm wearing the headphones right now, and so I'm outside in the really loud tunnel. So, but yeah, the moon conjunct Mars anyways, it can be kind of intense because the moon is so sensitive. Mars is that sort of brash, really, the desirous energy that wants to just be assertive and wants to sort of have independence. The moon is it doesn't inherently have to be a codependent energy, and not necessarily does codependency so-called have to be so-called negative energy for us. But the moon can have the tendency to sort of sway into the space of sort of, I want to have a reflection point. Similar to the sun, actually, which is interesting, right? The sun and the moon reflecting and creating that sort of oscillation between the full moon and the new moon. So they're both reflective luminary bodies, right? Technically, the sun and the moon are not planets. And it's just kind of interesting. So to think of it in that way. They are different though, right? Where the moon is reflective, the sun is reflective, but just in different so-called ways. The sun obviously is very interesting to think of in a reflective sense because it reflects light. And I think this is where I get off the bike now and I'm going to walk it. So give me a sec. But yeah, the sun is reflective. It's actually the ruler of Leo, which is interesting because Leo loves the spotlight. It is kind of reflective as well, right? So Leo is, it doesn't have to necessarily be codependent on that, but the Leo sun energy definitely does feed off of and thrive off of this sort of so-called attention, right, that others bring. And that doesn't have to be a so-called negative thing, right? Every planetary archetype has its so-called love language, its thriving sort of currency of how it feels relevant, right, in the world. So the sun, if you've got a lot of sun, energy in your chart in general, then you might find that that's really important for you to feel like, you have a reflective energy there when it comes to the public. Now, the moon is also, again, reflective. It is kind of also, we'll say, dependent at times on where it finds its creative direction, its creative force, its creative energies, and usually I'm hearing its enterprising frequencies, and that usually is stimulated by way of its ability to feel, to sense others. And of course, as we know, that can be a tremendous gift and talent for those who are, let's say, very lunar types. They've got a lot of water in their chart, or specifically Cancer lives, right? They can be a tremendous therapist. They can just sort of psyche. They can help people sort of, move through their subconscious blocks, subconscious mind in the back end. But of course, as with every element, the moon can also have its shadow, and that is that you can be really very, very porous, aurically, very sensitive, and you want to make sure that you do have boundaries if you do energy work, if you are, right, on a daily basis, engaging that talent of yours to be able to sense and tap into the energy force field, the auric field of others. So, but in a general way, it's to say that the moon can at times cling. It wants to create. That's really what the, and same with the sun, but just in different ways. So when we have the moon, right, it's like, I want to know, like, even like, who is my divine counterpart? Right now, there could be these questions and themes coming up of like, where is my heart at? Where do I create with? Where do I create with? It's almost like this mishmash, mosh posh of like questions, even of like, what makes me feel sort of relevant as well. And that's because the moon is the mothering energy. It is the sort of the core. And so when it meets, why am I talking about blah, 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 all this? Well, I'm blabbing on because the moon is conjunct Mars right now, which makes it uncomfortable to ask, one, and two, answer those questions. So, hey, what am I going to be doing with my life? Like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, is this real? Like, hey, but the moon is also introspecting and wanting answers. Okay. The moon can be a very sort of stimulating, hungry energy at times. Mars is very much like, I'm not here for that. I have work to do and we have to be focused. So, especially because we have so much energy here in focused sort of energy signs that are centric to, well, let me say it like this. We have a fixed energy here of the two planets in fixed, which is Moon and Mars, both in Scorpio, the fixed water sign Scorpio. And we have Venus here in Capricorn in retro, pre-shadow. And then we have to the signs of Sagittarius, the finances of others. It can be very serious to get fixed water. Moon right now is kind of like, why won't anyone like pay attention to me? It's a little bit like that. Questioning yourself a lot at this time, but then you're wondering, are you questioning these things? Like, why am I questioning? And let's get more honest here and more real. Scorpio rules questions, right? So you can expect whenever we have like even one in Scorpio, we can expect that there is going to be some of that, right? Curiosity, we'll call it. And so, not to say that it can't turn into like paranoia, where you're like, oh my God, I need to understand, like, why is this happening? What's going on? La, 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 la. That can be very much where the Scorpio energy goes as well. So we want to make sure that it does serve us, of course. If we're finding that we're like asking so many questions and we're feeling very ungrounded and unbalanced. And I just hope that this whole time you guys could actually hear me. If you guys can hear me, can you put like little stars in the chat? Like just a string of stars. And then I can see. Just to make sure, because like, I don't understand why it would not be filming, but stars, anybody? Anyone have stars? So, yeah, but go on now, guys. Don't be shy. Reach into your back pockets and just pull out a star. Okay, I saw some stars. I think it's my sober girl. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Yeah, but so we were saying like you want to make sure that definitely that it's serving you, and so, but with the moon again, in Scorpio, in conjunct Mars, which is also, let us not forget, the ruler of Scorpio, co-ruler of Scorpio. Scorpio is dominating right now. Scorpio is not ruled by the moon. So that's where it's a little bit a little bit odd for the moon right now. Kind of like that. It's like, all the moon wants is a hug, and it's like clanking armor vibes a little bit. If that does make sense. So, yeah, the moon is a very, again, sensitive point. Really, in any sign, let's get honest here, even further. The moon conjunct Mars is can feel a little bit vulnerable. So, but when it comes to your subconscious, your psyche, the fact of this might be that you are finding yourself sort of more sensitive to certain things, getting more introspective with things to the point where you're maybe not comfortable with where your mind is at times, maybe even taking you. Maybe you're having like a little bit of like a moment, like a little outburst at times. And so, but the issue that I'm looking at here with astrology right now, when it comes to this sort of energy space, is that the moon is the moon needs to it's like the moon needs to show up at the party, okay? But he really needs to cry. But he needs to show up to the party. I'm imagining the moon as like a character. Like I actually see a character here. I see like an oval shape. Well, the moon is, yeah, this is the oval shape. Very much like the egg, the womb. I'm seeing that character in Shrek. The egg man with the little stick legs. Who is this? No offense, like love and light, but yeah, he's like oval and he has those little legs. So, but I'm imagining that guy with like, who is it? Who's a character? I wonder if I should drop off Z-Bike. Can you guys give me a quick second? One moment. It'll be like 10 seconds. Sorry, we're back. So yeah, the guy, right, in Shrek, I'm like imagining though that he's wearing like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz's like little red ruby shoes, and like he's clicking into the party, like clank clank clank. He's like, he really let's be honest, okay? Sheesh. He really wanted to just kind of chill at home with his blankie. He really wanted, I think someone's flashing me from behind, or maybe that's me flashing me. Flashing me, you. Green light. Okay, so we can do this, guys. At a certain point, you guys must be thinking, is she on here to like kind of gather our assistance how to ride the bike? But yeah, you guys, I go on green, right? Okay, I don't have my permit. I'm only riding the bike. Not sure if that's why, but anyhow, yeah, maybe we'll talk about that another time. Like, I just feel guided to not have my permit for some reason, and I will follow that intuition. This person is in the middle of the road a little bit. That's the guy. Okay, so what is this? Oh, this is it's like a hay field. I don't know. They're redoing some construction here. Anyways, you guys, let's get back to it. So listen, the moon really didn't want to deal with this. He didn't want to go to the party. He wanted to just be at home. He wanted to be at home. Let's get honest, even further. All right, he wanted to talk about his feelings. Yeah, gosh, frick. So look, now he's got to dress up. It's like, okay, fine. It's like he wiped his snot. He smushed his tears into the pillow. He smashed his tears into the pillow. I don't know what the poetry is doing today, but forget the planetary astrology. I think we need to just check into like poetry rehab. Oh God, it might be better, guys, next time. I can't promise though, but sometimes it works. Anywho, yeah. If anybody does know the poetry astrology, You would think with the moon and Mars and Scorpio, maybe we can, but Mars is too aggressive. Anyways, let's get back to it. Clear it. If it was maybe, oh, I don't know, the moon conjunct Venus in Scorpio, ow, that would be different. But for now, it's like, listen, Mars is like, listen, don't, gotta go to the banquet, okay? Don't like embarrass me. Like, you need to wipe your tears a little bit. Like, I am a fixed water sign, and like, all my friends and my coworkers, like, they need to not realize, yeah, it's like, I see these as like kind of like, so, it's like we need to just be serious here and like show up and do do it, And the moon is like, I just see the moon like again as this character. I swear, Spirit gives me like the most interesting vision sometimes. Like I see like the Eggman with like these little ruby shoes. Look, he's compliant. I feel like, listen, the moon is like, okay, I understand. Okay, fine. I'll talk about my feelings tomorrow. When the moon, yeah, he's making plans. When the moon heads in to Sagittarius, then that might be a time where we have more room to get a little more expressive. So by nature, it's not that Scorpio doesn't feel. It is just that Scorpio sometimes is it's a more introspective energy, and so given that especially it is fixed water, Cancer is cardinal water. There is less of this tendency to like be like flashy with the emotions, like here they are. Okay, but that doesn't mean that they don't have them, and that they can't at times be even sometimes more intense. Like felt. So yeah, a silent Scorpio is usually not just like she's just silent. Cute, look at him. Cute silent Scorpio. What's she looking at over there? Oh no, just looking at a cute silent Scorpio. Not usually it's not just what you see on the so-called surface. So that's to say, that just because Cancer wants to express emotion and Scorpio, and I'm talking about the archetypes, doesn't mean that, Scorpio energy does not have understanding of that realm. It's just, it's kind of like, it's not time. It's like, with Mars needing its space for assertion. It's like, we need to have direction. We need to have, so Cancer in the meantime is like all over the place, like snot on the pillow, like, okay, fine. It's like something like that. Again, I'm seeing that character, the Eggman, with the little red heels. So it's like, now I'm just seeing it like this, so they were going to the party, like, the moon and Mars. Like, they have to pretend like nothing went down like 5 minutes ago. Like, they have to kind of pretend like, and it just reminds me of like, I don't even know, like these moments, like when you get into an argument with someone, maybe like a sibling or even a coworker, and then like all of a sudden like someone really official shows up and it's like you have to like wipe your tears. It's like something like that, The energy obviously doesn't disappear. Hi. Oh my gosh. Hi. I see a super chat. I just saw it from my mom. Oh, hi. Yeah, she's a Cancer. So she's like, yeah, click, click. I understand that. Yeah, I got my ruby red heels, not click, click. She's got a lot of Cancer. So anyways, something kind of like this. Like, so anyways, and it's like, I'm seeing like Cancer wants to like maybe at least bring the pillow. Maybe I'll bring my pillow. Maybe we'll talk about it later. It's like Scorpio's like, no, we have to put on a show, like for everyone. We have to be focused. We have to be, And this is again partly by way, like Scorpio has a lot on the line right now with Mars in its sign, and Mars being its ruler. It's like, please, like you need to act straight. I'm hearing that. I don't know. You need to act straight. Like, don't be like. I'm hearing screaming and shouting like in front of all my friends. I'm hearing that. I'm literally hearing this is like a conversation between the planets. So this is kind of like the vibe. It's like Scorpio doesn't want, it's really like taking your kid even to work or something. Love and light. Not that Cancer is like, you can obviously have like such a wonderful energy, right? With Cancer when it comes to manifesting amazing things. But just as like, possibly even the shadow to say that if you feel like something is bothering you, and this is you with you ultimately, right? It's like you may be feeling like, you don't have that outlet. You feel in some way like you do feel a lot right now, but then you also feel like it's not the proper time and place. Like, on some level you're still repressing maybe like what you know you're feeling. And so it's just that. This is to say, it's not to bash on any sign, of course. We are all signs at the end of the day as well, so I know, of course. But it's to say that, that might this is what we're ultimately possibly experiencing, and it's just for a few days. We're almost done with this conjunction. Tomorrow, actually, we will find the moon moving through into Sagittarius, where it will eventually join the sun, and that will be really lovely. So yeah, keep just, like if your inner moon feels like, it's just really a little bit awkward. It's like, I don't know why I'm just seeing that guy again and again. It's this vision, like he's like the Eggman in Shrek. And it's like, okay, fine. I know this is like important to you, Mars, Scorpio. So, maybe it's ultimately you as well. You're saying, well, I do really want to, like, maybe you're trying to get your emotions more in check, or you're trying to get your emotions so-called in check. Like, you're trying to, I think as a collective, we're trying to right now understand what role our emotions play, and the grander scope of also, like, maybe you just feel like it just wouldn't be, it's not even really necessarily what I may feel. Maybe you're trying to just have a platform for what you're feeling. That makes sense for you at this moment in time, and maybe it's that you just feel that the source code, the sources don't align yet for that. I don't know what, like it's just not the time. Like, those moments when I was just about to like go home and like take a bubble bath, and then now I gotta like go get like hot tamales with Mark. I hear that, something like this. It's like, okay, fine. It wasn't my plan, but that's the universe. So there are moments for everything, I guess. And so it's all, for a reason. Like, this is important to remember as well. And so there's a reason why right now, astrologically, we're looking at this so fine-tunedly, the Mars Moon conjunction. And of course, it precedes that very intense eclipse in Taurus. And so we're about to ride up on as well the new moon in Sagittarius. So we have here quite a bit coming. Do your, your purging. And the moon conjunct Mars can also give this very intense oscillation of like, I want to do this. I don't know if it's really time. I don't know if it really, And then it's like you have this surge. It's like, no, actually, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. And then it's like, so it's a little bit right now. And so, but it's a great time for introspection. And especially with Scorpio, we really tend to go deep with Scorpio. It's a wonderful season to be able to see yourself in ways that you've never seen yourself before. It can feel very uncomfortable at times, and then it can be very illuminating. So it helps us, though, ultimately progress forward as we move through, right? It help this different perspective, even if it's intense or deep, sometimes gives us another sort of nuanced point to work with when it comes to our soul development and introspection and self-awareness, right? Which is what we want. The times where we find challenge and difficulty is when we're resisting what may come up during any moment in time, right? Because I find that astrology is just that sort of template of like, hey, it's just the light that's being shown, showing different parts of you to you on different aspects of your being. And so it's just perspective. Nothing is actually changing. It's just perspective. So that's the cool thing. And that's the thing to remember, is that even if a certain time feels very intense and like, that's different for everybody, because we all have different birth charts. So maybe there's something being really fucking triggering in your own chart. Like if this Mars Moon conjunction is a position that you hold in your birth chart naturally, let's give a further example. Let's say it's on your IC. This is going to feel very maybe triggering, very intense. more so, very intense, more so than how it might feel for others. So the important thing to remember is that sometimes it can get really, but there is really, though, always change. We have to remember that as well. Nothing is really changing, but then there is always change. But the thing that changes is just the perspective, if that makes sense. So um, there is a lot coming up. It is not anything, though, in particular. For those also wondering, like, kind of more, what is astrology really? It's just opportunity to perceive. And it then becomes the decision that you make, right? You can look at every transit as a gift, as an opportunity. Like, hey, what is coming up? Like, how am I feeling? The important thing is to give yourself that raw space to kind of be like, okay, what's coming up? And how am I willing or not willing to look at this aspect of myself? Why would I not want to sort of be introspective about this? Why am I reacting or feeling reactive? Not that, but that's where we're clearing karma as well. It's important to remember that. And by the way, it's just channel message for those who are just tuning in. It's important to remember that as we ascend and as we clear karma, right? Nothing is really changing. We're just observing ourselves differently from another perspective and vantage point. So it's just that moment where we say, I'm willing to perceive of this right now, and in this way, from this perspective. So it's kind of like a roller coaster, like literally. It feels like you might get thrown off at times, but that's just where we are really gripping onto the way that we saw ourselves in the past. And that's probably one of the coolest things about astrology, is that, as I've more so recently come to see it, is that it's literally just a matter of being able to move with the sort of the moves that are made, and to realize that you don't take responsibility necessarily for what comes up, what you feel. You could also be tapping into a lot of karmic energy around you, and doesn't define you, right? So you're here to just shift your perspective again. I'm feeling really guided to like emphasize that. So, and you have the power to do that. And you have the power to say, well, okay, I realize that this energy is coming up in this way, and I'm like kind of acting like this or feeling like that about what is coming up. And so I have the option as well to change my perspective of how I am perceiving right now, to remember that I'm not necessarily attached or associated with what does come up in any capacity, right? For others, for myself, so called. And if you are observing others in a space that feels a little uncomfortable, to remember that, well, this isn't really, it's not, yeah, and that's also an astral. It's not necessarily me. It's not connected to me. So this is a particular statement as well for light workers, big time, because as a light worker, you are here to, it's like you're a doctor, and you kind of have to remember that you are assisting patients, yes, but you are not the patient. So remember that there's a lot happening on astral at all times, and you want to be grounded. That's important as well, so that you can identify, like, also, is this my energy, like, or am I maybe picking up on something that maybe even is happening on another timeline that is just coming up right now, because especially with generational planets like Neptune going retrograde, there can be past life energies. So Neptune went retrograde yesterday. We'll talk more about this in another live chat or video at some point, but maybe even on Astro members, which we'll hopefully circle back to, but I'm just hearing my intuition with that. It's cleared around. Any other notes? Yeah, so more or less, though, this is the gist. There's a lot that is sort of also shifting and transforming, and so try to just keep your flow. with yourself and with others, and to keep your energy moving as much as you can. It doesn't mean, hey, like, don't feel, but remember that you can reorient how you are experiencing what does come up or the way in which something does come up. Um, Another note, though, that I wanted to make is that um, if you find yourself kind of getting very bogged down, and I don't know how many people this might be a message for, but if you feel that at times you got very, very caught up, this might be something that we potentially see more of as Mars gets stronger in Scorpio. But if you do feel this, and this is yeah, what's really cool to remember is that, again, one, it's perspective, and two, it can change very quickly. That's where you want to look at astrology. And that will be your tool to say, let me see maybe what's going on right now and what is being triggered in my own birth chart. Is this something like, you know what I mean? Like, to see it more objectively and to say, well, okay, am I kind of having a moment right now? Well, yeah, then what is the moment? And not like what's going on, but like, what's the moment, you know? Oh, I got like a letter in the mail. Okay, let me open it. What is it? Because this is us when we have transits and experiences with astrology, we are opening letters from ourselves to ourselves, and we are clearing karma. So it's important to know. You guys, love and light to you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay grounded and keep clearing your aura.